YN. This is crazy, y'all. I literally haven't been this hyped about a hip-hop collaboration since Freemason. In the new hit Control, Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, and Jay Electronica gave us 7 straight minutes of relentless, unrestrained, unexpected, uncontrolled fire. This song did exactly what it was supposed to do, y'all. It got people back to work. It's like a stimulus package. I call it the Hip Hop Recovery Act of 2013. By the way, my name is Miss Ruby. You can find me all over at Miss Ruby with an L instead of an I. But for now, let's piece apart these lyrics. Okay, so the overall purpose of this song, says Big Sean on Twitter, was to give us some straight rap-ish. He wanted a long song on his album full of bars, no hook, just straight spitting. So when he began by saying power moves only, he's telling us this, along with everything else I do, is all for the sake of making real moves. Just like Jay-Z's got his new rules, Big Sean's got his power moves. And so far, the world is feeling it. So you see he's dropping on punchline after punchline, but he's not bragging on anybody specifically, just bragging on himself. Says he lives for a living. Like, who does that? Had a line about his girl Naya from Glee, who he loves so much. As he said in a Vibe interview, this song has fresh quotables throughout the whole thing. I say that applies mostly to his verse. Big Sean definitely stood out in the quotables arena on this record. He reps hard for Detroit, saying Detroit versus everybody, so Kendrick isn't the only one taking shots here. And lastly, I think you'll find it interesting that just before Kendrick's verse, Big Sean says, I'm one of the hottest because I flame drop fire, not because I'm name dropping, Hall of Fame dropping. Why is this so interesting? Well, because the most popular part of Kendrick's verse is when he drops like 10 names in a row of the hottest MCs out right now, including Mr. Hall of Fame himself. Even funnier, he heard Sean's verse before writing his own, so it's almost like he did it on purpose. Anyways, you ready to jump into Kendrick's verse? Okay, check it. Miscellaneous minds never explain in their minds. People who are all over the place buying into random rumors and ideas are rarely able to explain why they believe what they believe. Many people operate like this. We call them piggyback bandwagoners. Kendrick refers to them as alias aliens, meaning not known and not belonging. Peddling is like selling drugs. In this case, Kendrick's words are like drugs, addictive. And because they're so good, they'll never die. And to take it a step further, I feel like he's saying, you're so addicted to me that whether you love me or hate me, I have no choice but to survive. How? Through you, through your words, through your remarks, your rumors, etc. You ever heard Funk Master Flex on the radio with his famous bomb sound effect? He uses it to emphasize how hot a song is. Some songs get more bombs than others. So when Kendrick says so many bombs, it's like he's saying this verse is about to be the bomb. In the next line, I understand the association of figures where Louis Farrakhan is the Nation of Islam leader and Saddam Hussein was the dictator in Iraq. But to my understanding, Farrakhan didn't believe that Saddam possessed weapons of mass destruction. So if a lot of bombs were dropped in this instance, I don't think it'd be because Farrakhan thought that somehow Saddam was resurrected and dropping the bombs himself. Rather, I think he'd believe Saddam must be in America because Americans are dropping bombs on Saddam Hussein. But that's just my take on it. What you think? In the next few lines, Kendrick uses ruthless imagery to paint a picture as vicious as he sounds and seems to have said something that pissed a lot of New Yorkers off. The line, I'm Machiavelli's offspring, I'm the king of New York, king of the coast, one hand, I juggle them both. Machiavelli was one of the names Tupac Shakur was known by, who was born and raised in New York, but eventually became the king of the West by way of his music. So I feel like Kendrick is saying he's similar in that he was born and raised on the West, but is just as famous on the East Coast, so he's juggling them both. Next up, I love Kendrick's repeated use of alliteration when he says things like the juggernaut all in your jugular, etc. This is a follow-up to the previous juggling line, basically saying that if you take him for a joke, he'll go for your throat where the jugular vein is, like the big buff X-Men character, the Juggernaut. In these next few lines, Kendrick gets a little bit more vulgar, pointing out that his big homie is rapper Corrupt, who made a similar track back in '99 titled Calling Out All Names. And he talks about the rap game being on crutches. And when you think about it, most West Coast rappers aren't as lyrical as East Coast rappers. But in this case, Kendrick and Corrupt both believe they are. So when a rapper like that comes around, it shocks the game. And that's the effect I've had from Kendrick since the beginning. And based on his next stanza, Kendrick has seen this kind of fame ruin rappers before. Turn them evil like Decepticons and the Transformers. Turn them to drugs like Molly's and end up like Lindsay Lohan, who recently got out of rehab. Notice the double meaning of Molly in this bar, which sounds like Miley. First name of popular singer-actress Miley Cyrus, who is plain as day outshining her former competition, Lindsay Lohan. Hold on, I gotta drop another bomb because that was amazing. Okay, I want to point out that clear as day, based on the next stanza, Kendrick has intentionally been isolating himself from musical fads over the last few years. I know it's something we've all noticed, but this is validation. He said he's dressed in all black, a color that usually represents mystery and solemnity, depth, and encourages imagination. But it's also the opposite of white, the color Elvis Presley was most known for wearing. So boom, He's different. But in case someone wanted to attack him for that, he uses a James Bond example of what he'd do to them. Did you know the actor Sean Connery, who played the original 007 James Bond, was really attacked on set before with a gun? And before the shooter could do anything, Sean Connery really disarmed the man and threw him off stage? Kendrick was going in, man, I swear, and we ain't even got to the best part yet. I need another bomb. Okay, so here's where the name dropping begins. We get shout outs to some of the best of all timers, Jay-Z, Nas, Andre 3000, then call outs to some of the best right nowers, J. Cole, Wale, Drake, etc. He said, I love you, but I want to murder you and make sure none of your core fans ever heard of you. This, along with the rest of the verse, is what everyone's going crazy over. And you know why? Because this generation isn't used to the upfront competition of rap as a sport. I mean, yeah, everybody thinks they're the best, they brag and boast about it, but not by directly comparing themselves to another rapper and naming them out. That'd usually be the next question, right? Oh, you're the best? Compared to who? But honestly, I don't think he was dissing anybody except for those who don't know how to have friendly competition. And for everyone pissed off, mostly the rappers whose names weren't mentioned, I don't discourage your reactions, because that's exactly what Kendrick was going for. I say, if you think you can murder Kendrick Lamar on the track, then prove it. He's welcoming it. But don't go getting all butthurt because he's being a brave sport. Just like he says in the next line, he's trying to raise the bar and see who's gonna come and get it. Do you believe him when he says you're better off trying to skydive with a latex condom attached to a dread as a parachute? No. Then prove it. I know, it's harder to watch somebody come and steal the crown proclaiming themselves as a king than it is to take a poll from the people. And that's probably the root of what's really pissing everybody off, but I say, he knew what he was doing. As for Jay Electronica's verse, if you want to hear that broken down, let me know in the comments and I'll get that to you at the beginning of next week. Till then, agree or disagree with me in the comment box below. That's what it's there for. And in closing, thank you for stopping by Piece to Part Music. Thumbs this video up if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it, and make sure you don't go until you leave your piece in the box below. Check out my last lyrical breakdown of God Bless America by Lil Wayne. And until next time, it's Miss Ruby signing off.
Piece of heart. Did you hear it?